Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. And I'm really excited about today's guest, Laurie Swanson. She's actually alumnus of University of Texas at Austin, and she's helping women in tech who are in career transition use their skills and passion to become their own boss. I just got done interviewing another entrepreneur helping coaching career transitions, so I'm really happy about this topic, especially in these times. So, Laurie, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Tell people about your background, your story, and how you come to do what you do.
Sure. So, as you said, I went to the University of Texas in Austin. I graduated with a degree in business with an emphasis on information technology, and after graduation, became a software engineer. So that's how I started. I was working for a small startup software firm that was creating municipal software for cities, billing, utility billing, things like that. But we were struggling financially with the product I was on. So I was laid off. And when I got laid off, I really saw it as a blessing because I wasn't having all that much fun. And I wasn't sure if it was because I didn't like coding, if I didn't like the culture, but I chose to decide to use recruiters to help me find more of a blend technology. I didn't want to throw technology out the window, but with more customer-facing, sales-focused roles. And that landed me in recruiting, and which I didn't even know was a career, but it became really my passion. And I grew a multi-million-dollar information technology recruiting firm focused on both men and women, helping companies from scaling startups to Fortune 50 build their technology teams from, all levels, all the way from software engineers up to CIOs. And then as that was going, I got married, I had a couple kids, sort of started to, as my kids got a little bit older, have to think about what was going to be next for me. So I was either going to choose to go, because I had pulled back for actually probably a decade. I was still running my business. I still had employees, but I wasn't growing my business. I was maintaining it because I was focused on the kids and being part of their lives. And so when they got a little bit older and I was thinking, okay, it's either go all back in with my recruiting company and grow that again or something different. And so I was in a career sort of reset, as I like to call it, and did a lot of exploring different things like that, and eventually found my path in coaching. So I do coach women in tech who are in career transformation of some sort, either to become their own boss. So the reset is unique to everyone, really. They might want to stay where they're at, but they want to become more visible in the organization by doing speaking or maybe joining some paid boards, or their reset might be that they want to do a traditional job search and join a scaling startup or get into corporate Fortune 50 where they've always been in smaller companies, or they may want to start to straddle corporate and begin to build their exit strategy as their own boss, as an entrepreneur. It's some, part-time, full-time, who knows, right? So that's what I do now. So I coach through a group program called Career Reset, and I also coach through one-on-one.
Oh, I love that. And we're going to talk about a lot of the different things. But one thing that we were talking about, especially was this idea, there's women in tech ready for career transitions. There's a lot of men and women in healthcare ready for career transition. It's good that you have narrowed it down to such a niche audience, because that helps you, craft your, compelling MVP, your story. So one thing is talking about is how can you take your passions and skills and use them to become your own boss?
Well, I think that it's almost a prerequisite. Being an entrepreneur is that you have to believe in how you're serving your community. You have to believe in the product or service that you're delivering at a level where you really, I can talk about the business school stuff, the MVP and the and all of that, and having, a product. But what I really think is that we are real, true satisfaction, comes from being led sort of from the inside out. And that means, I think of passions as sort of divinely inspired sparks that continue to point you in the direction that you're going. So the journey of an entrepreneur, or the journey, in any STEM career, probably any career, it has its ups and downs and rights and lefts. And so if you can stay anchored to your center through your passions and through that inner compass, then even the downs are sort of fun,
Yeah. And one thing that's very common among physicians, because I work with physicians, and they always talk about they use their particular skill set, to do a procedure, or, see a patient, whatnot. But you can actually use a lot of those skills into other areas, such as consulting or entrepreneurship. You can do a lot of different things. So talk about this idea of cross-pollination, because it's kind of this, especially in healthcare, it's a fixed mindset. So, people, they need to be aware of, your skills can be transferred.
Yeah. So I like to say that way more than you think you know. If you have, an idea of pursuing, even as you're a physician, but there's something pulling you a little bit into an entrepreneurial mindset, there are lots of portable skills that we actually in my program do something called connect the dots, connect your career dots, which is a method looking at throughout not just your career after you got out of med school or out of college, but all the way back, and really looking at, oh, wow, I was very passionate as a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout or in 4-H, volunteering at my church. And what was it about that? What came out of me? What skills, gifts, and abilities? I actually say gifts, abilities, and skills, your gas, your fuel. So what gifts, abilities, and skills came out of each of these things, even from having a paper route or having being a babysitter at one point? Like, what was it out of that really lit you up, really inspired you? Again, sort of, you were passionate about. What did you learn out of it? What have you taken with you? And now let's look at all of those and figure out what are the ones that you want to continue to develop, bring forward, use, because you can be good at something, but that doesn't mean you want to keep doing it, especially in tech. You because you're the best, Python coder around, there's a point in which you might not want to keep being that go-to person around Python. You're happy to mentor and all of that, but you've reached that zone of excellence. If you've ever read Gay Hendricks' book, which is a pretty fantastic book, The Big Leap, he talks about these 4 levels, and the zone of excellence is the level which is well within your comfort zone. And you want to be in your zone of genius, where you're pushing up against and outside of your comfort zone and continuing to grow and learn, and not only serve others, but serve yourself through the work you're doing in the world.
Yeah, it's so, I think in these days and age, people are just, I was listening to this webinar by the CEO of Robinhood, and he was talking about these days people want to work for themselves. They don't want to work for companies. They want to control their time and their income. But then we still have this kind of linked paradigms from the industrial age. So how did you find the confidence to change careers and push forward, take the leap, the big leap?
Yeah.
That's a great book as well.
Yeah. So, I think that when I first became an entrepreneur, I was sort of young and dumb. So I really didn't know much. I just, I was in corporate, and I was unhappy. I had been a recruiter working for a firm, was their top rep, straight commission sale, was very successful, but I felt like I wanted to go into corporate. I wanted to sell a product versus a service. And so that's what I did. I went into software sales, so still tech focused, but software sales. And in corporate America, I found myself just really unhappy. I didn't like a lot of the red tape. I didn't like the lack of creativity that was present in the couple of companies that it was very much, here's how we do it. Now flourish your way, that, within this very narrow. And I think I am a natural entrepreneur because I like to try things out. I do not worry too much most of the time about failure or about doing things wrong. If it sounds fun to me, I'm doing it, right? Even not always probably thinking as practically about the financial investment as maybe I should, but it's always paid off in one way or another, either through, lessons learned or through what you would consider a successful endeavor. So then I was running my business and making good money with my team and all of that, and then had the kids. And then as I was thinking about what was next, there was a real sense of fear that came up because I was considering leaving something that I had built for 20 years, that was kind of running itself, that provided a good income. And I was thinking about going into coaching, which has got, everywhere there's people who overnight successes, but you have to sort of think about it as that this is, give yourself time. And I talk about this with, in the coaching, that you want to give yourself the time to learn and to grow, and so that you can slow down, so you can not put all that pressure on yourself. So I started thinking about it as, okay, this is really, could be 3 years of building. And what does that mean to us financially? What does that mean? And I was scared, but I took the leap anyways. And I gave myself, that longer time to do it. And I did have some money set aside. But in my first business, this is actually my third. So I had a partnership too, a recruiting partnership, before I went on my own. And my very first business, which was the partnership, I borrowed money from my parents. The second business, I bootstrapped, so I did my own thing. And this one, it bootstrapped as well. So, but I planned a little differently because I put money away that would keep me going for a year. And then I've been just slowly but surely building it and not looking back.
Yeah, it's funny. It's I always tell clients this story, or when I'm speaking, that because I loved med school. It was like my dream. It was like my dream to go to, and and I loved being at Rice, and the whole research, and then I step into New Jersey hospital. My first day of residency, I'm like, I have this WTF moment, and I just, because I did not like being told what to do by an arbitrary person, and all this bureaucracy and just inefficiency. It just it was
same thing. I mean, I felt really like boxed in, and thinking to myself, gosh, I think we could maybe do things a little better here. And that's when I said, okay, then do it. Create your own business where you can try things out and see what works and see what doesn't. And there's lots to be learned. Even when you're talking about transferable skills, is in corporate, when you're thinking about maybe becoming an entrepreneur, but you're still in corporate, or, even in a hospital, you can start to look around and see what are some of the best practices that you can bring with you. And then what is it that you don't like? And then as an entrepreneur, you get to make it however you want to make it.
Yeah, it was so, yeah, that's quite interesting. And then basically you just have to take a leap. It's like skydiving. It's like you either stay on the plane or you get off, and, ultimately, you have a parachute and all that, but it's just kind of like, it's that fear. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, like I said, when I was younger, I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have kids. I just didn't have a lot of the things that I had when I was thinking about, college and retirement, basic, much bigger bills. And so I was a little more cautious, I would say, but not for very long, because again, there was something inside of me that said, just do it. You're not having fun with recruiting anymore. You're good at it. Was that zone of excellence again that Gay Hendricks talks. I was good at it, very good at it, but I wasn't passionate about it. I wasn't loving it. It wasn't challenging me in the way that, in a good way. So I just said, okay, let's go.
Yeah, there was this great talk by Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel, and he's basically talking about what you said, that when you're younger, take more risks because that's when you don't have a spouse or kids or a mortgage, and that's, you have time. You have time to recover. You learn a lot, and maybe you have a one hit wonder, huge success, and so really interesting talking about taking the leap. And now you are really focused on the women, not to be biased or anything, but what are the challenges females in tech face when it comes to their careers?
Well, I think, you can't pretty much read the news without knowing we're still in a decades-long battle for gender equity, pay equity. Microaggressions are going on. The gaslighting happens, sexism happens, racism happens, ageism happens, weightism happens. So there's lots of that happening out there, and there's so much more than that, that's possible. And there's so many people that will support you. And I often think that even in the challenges, we grow our mettle and we become a much better path blazer for those coming up behind us. And so it's worth doing, even and within corporate, for all the reasons we've already talked about, and for the reasons I just mentioned, it can be difficult. And especially as the woman gets older in tech, there's, the older women don't know how to pick up new tech, or the older people. It's not just women, but the older set isn't good at, picking up new tech, which is a fallacy. It's lots of it is based on unconscious bias, and it's unconscious, so we're not fully aware of it. And without checking our bias and really saying, am I making an assumption here? Is this based on, on anything in reality? And perhaps, so I think it's hard. I mean, I get a lot of women one-on-one that I'm coaching with that are at a certain age point, and they are talking about the realities of feeling like they're not getting past the first round interview because of their age. And I think that's going to be something you're going to be hearing more and more and more about. Pay equity doesn't go away. We're still, very much working towards having that. But I think you're going to hear more and more, just as because the boomers and the millennials and getting older, corporate America has flaws. That's all I can say.
And, with all the problems with corporate America, all the isms that it's the best time to be an entrepreneur. Yep. Go out, especially after COVID. Basically, COVID paved the way for people to become entrepreneurs. And so, COVID was a bad thing, but it's also a good thing too. The other question is, how can people, because a lot of physicians, I talked to one physician on my podcast, and she's actually healthcare recruiting for, other or similar to what you're doing. So how can people follow you? Check out your social media, check out your work, contact you, etc.
So I'm a big user of LinkedIn. So definitely find me out on LinkedIn, Laurie Swanson. I think it's Laurie Swanson Career Coach on LinkedIn. And then my website, inspiretech.com. And I'm sure you put these all in the show notes. And then, I'm on Instagram as well and Facebook. That's just more fun stuff. Yeah. But LinkedIn's where I'm sharing more of the day-to-day, and I love connecting with people. I have a free event coming up October 10th, 11th, and 12th. It's an hour a day. It's a workshop called Unlocking Your Career Confidence. That'll be fun, all with one simple thought. So that's what I'll be teaching on in that program. And I've my Career Reset program launches October 17th, 2023. And then we do it 3 or 4 times a year, depending on the calendar. So we do continue to repeat it.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like know a lot of the audience out there, female executives, positions, lawyers, professionals, definitely if what Laurie said resonates with you, which will all of her resources will be in the links in show notes. She's got a couple of free events coming. Check those out. Check out her social media, her work, and reach out to her. And with that, it was a really fantastic conversation.
Yes, Christopher, I really enjoyed it, and great questions. It was fun. Thank you.